Anthropology is the study of humanity, of the ancient and modern people and their ways of life. Anthropology, unlike other sciences that study particular aspects, is enriched by contributions from various disciplines and goes beyond them. This is where you can recognize the characteristics of anthropology by gathering all aspects of a human group and comparing them with those of their groups. It seeks an explanation by contrasting both the characteristics they have in common and those that make them different from each other. We can recognize four main areas, depending on the particular aspect from which we access the study of human beings. Physical anthropology. It studies the physical characteristics of humans through the fossils found and the distinctive features of contemporary groups. Here you can recognize primatology, human paleontology, forensic anthropology, and population genetics. Archaeology. It is devoted to the study of material remains of past cultures. By reconstructing extinct forms of life, it seeks to know the ecological environment and the causes that led us to its demise. Among the most widespread branches have historical and industrial archaeology. Anthropological linguistics. It studies the diversity of languages spoken by the existing human groups, attempts to reconstruct the history of their origin, as well as the role of the relationship between language and the development of the groups that speak it. The branches in which this aspect is divided include historical linguistics, descriptive linguistics, and sociolinguistics. Cultural anthropology, also known as social anthropology. It refers to the analysis and description of cultures, both from the past and from human groups of today. This includes applied, medical, urban, development, and religion anthropologies, as well as politics anthropology and indigenous, among other themes. Anthropology is a subjective science. This means there exist several theoretical perspectives or approaches. For example, evolutionist school, led by Edward B. Taylor and influenced by the research of Charles Darwin, established the concept of culture and the next possible stages of mankind. Lower savagery, higher savagery, barbarism, higher state of barbarism, and civilization. Historical particularism. It states the individuality of each culture. Diffusionism proposes that cultures adopt their elements by imitation of other ones. It established with this the concept of acculturation. Functionalism. The emphasis of this British current is on function. The duty of the anthropologist is to describe the functions of the customs and institutions for the society studied, means by which we come to understand its origins. Functionalism has a strong influence in the social sciences. Sociologists as Emile Durkheim made important researches since the particular way of seeing the culture. A very clear analogy that explains this system is the comparison between a biological organism and a social system. French structuralism. This school, represented by Levi Strauss from France, uses an analogy to explain the origin of the differences and similarities among culture. The crux lies in the existence of a general structure, an underlying pattern common to all cultures, and what marks the difference among them is the melody, understood as the particular arrangement or interpretation that each society makes of them, where the main interest is to understand said structure. In anthropology, we can find several processes a society does to enrich its culture. For example, enculturation, a learning process where the older generation transmits and induces new generations to adopt ways of thinking and behaving in a socially acceptable way. Diffusionism defends the scope of the transmission of cultural features, not only between generations, but from one society to another. To compare societies, a method called the universal pattern of cultures, composed by infrastructure, structure, and superstructure. In anthropology, there also exist two types of families: nuclear families, consisting of father, mother, and children, and extended families, consisting of father, mother, children, and the parents of the siblings. Fieldwork is a research method based on direct personal observation that, for extended periods of time, may be of a social group of animal or vegetable population, or of recognition of specific geographic areas. Its main tool is the monograph. A monograph is a document whose production is a basic step at the beginning of the study of any human group in particular. Its purpose is to gather as much information as possible about the specific topic that was chosen. The steps are the following. In anthropology, we can also find two kinds of research. The qualitative, a methodology that seeks to present elements that drive us to give answers and explanations about the events and happenings surrounding mankind. Quantitative, methodology that seeks for facts and numbers. The ethnography or the depth study, characterized by an extensive description of all those aspects of the everyday life of a particular culture, nowadays has adopted a more integral vision. These are the steps to follow. When approaching a research from the perspective of the inside, it is called emic. When approaching it from the outside perspective, it's called ethic. Mexico's society is divided in 5 regions: Central Mexico, Northeastern Mexico, West Mexico, Northwestern Mexico, and Southeastern Mexico. Mexico is a nation with great archaeological and historical heritage due to the arrival of a diversity of cultures from all the cardinal points: east from Asia, west from Europe, and southeast from Africa. Wealth continued growing after the encounter with the European community. Mexicans, even though they born in the determined city or belong to a different ethnic culture, we share the same culture and identity. Three significant elements define Mexican people are the soil, history, and the fact that we all live together. A very important issue in Mexican society is drug use in teenagers. Studies indicate that the average age of teenagers first trying an illegal drug is of around 14 years old, which is a very young age to make our own decisions. The reasons for drug use is probably because of social pressure, at least in most of the cases. A bad education can also be one. My proposal to stop this is to create even more prevention programs than there already exist, so the younger people will know the consequences of emerging in the dangerous world of drugs. Anthropology is very important to humanity since it let us explain how society works and it let us understand each other. Thanks.